All right, so the Huskies are at practice. Earlier this week, John, you were there in Newport, Rhode Island. They had media day. They do a little, poll for the preseason, whatever that's worth. Yeah. Huskies chosen 7th out of this new 10-team league.
And it's a spot they've gotten used to because with 8 teams in the old Big East, they were picked 7th the last couple of years. And here they are 7 out of 10 teams. So maybe they're a little better. I don't know, because, if you're 7 out of 10.
I like the math.
Yeah, right.
Well, my first reaction to it, and I think I said it to you guys the other day, was, wait a minute, they were 7th in the Big East last year, they're 7th this year, but this new conference stinks. So, how are they still 7th? But when you look at it, to be fair, there are some good teams ahead of them.
Yeah, they brought in Central Florida, which is a good team, and they were, I think, picked 4th. Yeah. They bring back some pretty good teams. Louisville's a national championship contender with Teddy Bridgewater, a Heisman hopeful at quarterback. Cincinnati's going to be very good. Tommy Tuberville, the new coach there, we know he's won national championships and been a big-time coach. Auburn was a lot of his success. So there's some good teams still in the league. They added Houston, who's going to throw the ball all over the place. But they'll be better than, I think, the SMUs. And I think, actually, they're going to finish better than some of these new teams that have come in the league. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them finish 5th.
I think it's a big opportunity for this conference to make a statement winning some early games. We can look at UConn's schedule, particularly Michigan and Maryland to start the season. It's not going to be an easy road, but if these teams, and look, everyone's poo-pooing this conference, we know that. But if they can come up with some big wins, it can go a long way.
And they pooh-pooed the Big East. I mean,
well, the Big East wasn't very good.
It wasn't very good, but they got some quality wins. They produced some pretty good players. And last year, Louisville goes out and beats Florida in the Gator Bowl or whatever it was, a pretty big bowl game. Sugar Bowl, actually, yeah, Sugar Bowl, BCS Bowl, and they did it pretty handily. So they got disrespected, and this league's going to get disrespected as well, and rightfully so, because it is kind of a joke.
Well, it's. Look, it is what it is, and all of these teams were looking to land up in some sort of conference, and they have. And is it the first choice for any of these schools? I think any of these schools, or most of these schools, would be lying to say, yeah, this is what we thought it would be, whether you're SMU coming over or Houston or any of these new teams to the conference coming over. This isn't what they thought it would be. They thought they were coming to a Big East that was going to have better teams, and then, look, the whole landscape went to hell.
And, John, you had a chance to talk to Pasqualoni this week, Coach Pasqualoni. I mean, after 2 5-7 seasons, do you sense any urgency with him, talking to him earlier about what – you got to win.
No, he does have to win. I mean, he has 2 5-7 seasons after, a bunch of consecutive bowl game appearances. They've been ineligible the last couple of years with 5 and 7s, and they've come so close. And a lot of talk for Pasqualoni is they have to finish games this year. We heard it last year too. He's done a good job recruiting in the state. We're starting to see his recruits now eventually kind of become factors here. I didn't get a sense of it. He always seems to be very calm, and he'll talk a lot, but not say a lot. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Listen, let's continue this over on SportsEdge.com because I want to get more into UConn's future. We'll run out of time here on television, so go to SportsEdge.com to finish this conversation. On television, however, we're going to continue things now with our fitness contributor. All right, now let's continue on this conversation. I think it'll be interesting to have Randy Edsall in early with Maryland, who has not, he's not had...
And Rob Ambrose, who was Randy's offensive coordinator.
Right,
just the schedule here. They have Towson, Rob Ambrose. You have Randy Edsall, Maryland, Michigan, Buffalo. Here's the funny part if you're a UConn fan. All right, you recognize some of these teams, but then you're going to go to at SMU, versus Memphis. I mean, that's just going to take a while to get used to.
Right there, I think they're 4-2 right there with those games right out of the gate. I think they beat Towson. They should beat Towson. I think they lose to Maryland and Michigan.
Well, they better beat Towson.
Yeah, they better beat. Yeah, but I think they will. So I think if they're 4-2
Buffalo,
at that point,
USF, Cincinnati.
Yeah,
tricky.
Well, they're 4-3 at that point.
Yeah. Well, okay, so you have Edsall coming back. Here's a guy who, when he left, right? A lot of people say he left the cupboard bare for the guy who succeeded him, and that was Pasqualoni. However, Coach Edsall always seemed to come up with winning seasons, regardless of what people thought his talent pool was coming in at the beginning of the year, and Pasqualoni hasn't quite done that. And I think you have to give a coach time, to develop players in his own system. Pasqualoni, I don't think, has had that time, and I think it would be fair to dump him after 3 years if he doesn't have a winning season or doesn't take the team to a bowl game. But I do think it's interesting that he came in. I think the cupboard was bare when he came in. He had no, let's face it, there's no quarterback. I don't mean to disparage any of the kids that were there, but the quarterback situation has been really difficult.
Yeah, I mean, since Dan Orlovsky left, they haven't had a legit quarterback. They've had some good guys in there. Tyler Lorenzen was a good guy who could run the offense.
He was a good athlete.
Right, and a good leader.
Yeah.
So that was good. But yeah, well, it's no secret Etzel never really cared about offense. So I'm not surprised there. Defensively, the cupboard has never been bare.
No,
I mean, look at
not.
last year's draft class with those defensive guys. But yeah, I haven't seen much out of their offense, though. Matter of fact, I feel like UConn's offense has gone backwards.
Very conservative.
Yeah, under Paul Pasqualoni and his guys there. So I'm interested to see what they do this year. They have 4 offensive linemen coming back. Hopefully they get that ground game going. TJ Wheats, the new offensive coordinator coming in. I think he's going to want to throw it around a little bit. So I think let's give the offense a chance this year. I think they'll be better than they have been in the years past. And they need them to be. If they're 3 points better in 1 or 2 games last year, they're bowl eligible.
Right. He likes to throw the ball around a bit on offense, and he's had guys who can do that, right? Coming from Cincinnati most recently, he's had guys who can do that. Does he have that? I mean, look, we talk about how they've been short at the quarterback position. The receiver position hasn't exactly been stellar for that team either. They haven't had guys who can go out and make plays.
Yeah,
no, good, John.
Okay, yeah, no, that really never. I don't remember. I mean, Dan Orlovsky didn't have a lot of guys to really throw to. Marcus Easley had that one big year.
Yeah.
But and if I'm a receiver on that team, I'm working my butt off, knowing there's an opportunity there to catch some footballs. They lose Ryan Griffin from last year as a big target. Jeremy Davis, they're expecting a lot from him this year, and Shaquem Phillips, maybe he can finally turn the corner. But keeping Whitmer off of his butt is going to be key, and I think that they'll be able to do that a little bit with 4 of the 5 offensive linemen coming back.
If I'm Pasqualoni, looking back the last couple of years, I don't. Does he have a signature win? You go beat Maryland or Michigan at home. I think that would really calm the UConn fan base a little bit to get that big signature win. I can't really think of one off the top of my head, a signature win where you went, whoa, that was a really big win.
The win last year at Louisville was kind of a big one, the triple overtime win.
That was a big win, but Louisville was coming off of a loss the previous week in that game. So, and we didn't know how good Louisville was at that point either, right?
Well, you beat Michigan at home with, they were selling 6,000 extra seats. You pull off an upset like that, I think that'll really calm the fan base down and maybe get the season rolling where he wants it to be.
Yeah, and in these Connecticut kids he keeps bringing in, I think we're going to start to see them develop too. I think Whitmer, he's the lead guy at quarterback, but I wonder if Tim Boyle is the guy I kind of think reminds me of. And you guys could laugh and joke at me. I'm a big fan of Dan Orlovsky, as we all know, but he seems to be more of a mobile Dan Orlovsky, a guy who can get out.
What about Casey Cochran?
I don't know. I feel like Casey's been pushed aside. I mean, he had so many records in high school here in Connecticut. I just wonder if he's not tall enough. I know Drew Brees has dismissed that, but I don't know if he's big enough to be a quarterback at that level.
We'll see.
We'll see. That's the key, because all we can do here is just predict and talk about it. And we're good at predicting and talking about this. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thanks for tuning in here on SportsEdge.com.